Like, this is like one of my very first rotations. I'm like, I don't really know what it means to follow a patient. Like, do I talk to them and then tell you what they said? It even reminds me of an episode from The Office where Jim is asked to give a rundown on something. And Jim doesn't even know what that means, but he's just like, yeah, boss, I'll get you that rundown.
Hey, Jim, can I get a,
Hi.
Hi. I need a rundown of your clients. Can you get that to me?
Sure.
Yeah?
Yep.
Okay.
What the hell is a rundown?
So like all day, he's just kind of killing time. Like, yeah, you get me that run? Oh yeah, I'll get you the rundown later. And like, I feel like sometimes that was for me. It was like they'd be like, you want to follow that patient? And I'm like, do I like log in? No one's shown me like.
Hey, you know what? Do you have a rundown that I could take a look at just so I know what type of rundown you're looking for?
Just keep it simple.
Keeping it simple, that's what I'm doing.
Sure, I can follow the patient. Let me get you that. Like, all right, we're gonna go see them now. All right, I guess I'll follow you because I'm gonna be following this patient, whatever the heck that means. Like, no one even just explains like the basics before they just throw you out there to the wolves.
There's the rundown you asked for. I may have expanded some areas that you weren't prepared for.
Great.
But I think,
Fax that to everyone on the distribution list.
sure. Do you want to look at it first?
Do I need to?
No.
I thought it would just be fun to reflect on the craziness and inconsistencies of medical school rotations. There's so many times you show up, the team doesn't even know you're showing up. You don't know where to show up. I've heard it being as if every single week or at least every couple of weeks for like a year, you have a brand new job. So there's never a chance to get good at it. What were some of those first day ones of your various rotations like for you, Naveed?
Oh my God, the day ones are just the first week of any rotation is just a fascinating experience.
Hi, I'm the new med student.
Knock, knock. Hi, I'm the new med student.
What's the question?
Oh, I'm not consulting. I'm starting on rotation.
Yeah, you gotta come in. No, sometimes they know you're coming, other times they don't know, and yeah, they're so busy with what they're already doing, and you sort of feel bad because you're kind of in the way. But it depends at what stage you're at. And you're like, first few months when you're just learning, there's not so much you're contributing, so you sort of feel more of a in the way nuisance. But then as time goes on, you do develop certain skills and actually can help with the team, so that is good. But it was just coming in, and so many things were just different, right? You go in, they're on a different floor of the hospital, like architecturally, like layout different, and it's like, oh, the
Wait.
patient's in this room, that room, this, and you're like,
Every
different
hospital's
floors.
amazing.
Yeah, you're just, so you don't even know where to go there. And then the workflow might be a little bit different, the times at which they start, even like take rounds, the way that people, right, they did rounds could be so different. And so you're trying to adapt, and then the different style, the way that the resident wanted you to present a patient. Oh, like we really want this more granular information. Then you go to another rotation, like that's too much information. You got to keep it more higher level.
If you don't like it, we don't care. 'Cause we do things a little different around here.
As if then it's like you didn't take the time to think to really be succinct, when it's like, no, I took the time to be more in detail because that's what the other person said, and then you come.
Absolutely.
So I feel like you have to keep adjusting. And then one big thing that was really tough was the freaking acronyms. Already the language of medicine is so expansive, but then you get on these rotations and there's even more granular. I remember like OB/GYN in particular, they had so
Which
many
is obstetrics and gynecology.
Yeah.
He's already using the abbreviation.
Oh man, the oppressed has become the oppressor.
I've just got one simple little task for you to get on with. Oh, good. So we've got the NSOR coming down the PQT this ARVO. I need you to be on the FTG ASAP until the CTG comes through with the ROG. Get the DDA done by the EOP, then you can LWR and take your SDO. Shouldn't be much of a PQY.
They had so many acronyms that I was just trying to catch up, and it was like you thought that you learned something from the previous few weeks or a few months on a rotation. You're like, you're feeling better, and then you just drop back down again. And while some things carried over, other things didn't. I remember just thinking, my God, it's just whirlwind.
And there's often that one person who takes you under their wing, and you're just like, thank you, like your savior, you know, like normally it's like an intern or maybe a second or third year resident who's just like, oh, come on, here, no one's at this station, here, let me dust it off for you and log you in and all that kind of stuff. And like, here's what we're doing, here's the patient list. By the way, I just printed an extra, you know, you can have this. And you're just like, thank goodness, because this person doesn't always exist. But then there's also awkwardness. Like I've heard a classic scenario is like, you're like, okay, that is my person. Like they get me and you're like following them and they're like, why are you following me?
Why are you following me? I'll tell you why. 'Cause I'm all alone. There's no one here beside me.
You're like, I don't know, I thought you were gonna go see a patient. They're like, I'm going to the bathroom. You can chill out.
Well, it's no wonder you don't have any friends. Wow. Only a true friend would be that truly honest.
It really, the shadow. I feel like the concept of shadowing. I remember in pre-med, right? You like people would shadow as a way of like going with the doc and seeing what it was like. I don't think I had comprehended exactly what shadowing literally meant until, yeah, we're then med students and you're like in the person's, like you're just attached to them at the hip, that you're in their shadow or just following them around and just being like, oh my God, this is, or especially I remember waiting at the end of a rotation, that dance of like wanting to go home and just waiting to be told,
I wanna go home.
but then realizing that these residents like clearly have so many things on their mind that they're not like actively thinking about you and your schedule. And so wanting to bring it up, but not wanting to make it seem like you didn't care and be there because you're getting evaluated. Oh my God. It was always like, is there anything more that I can do? It was like, there should be a separate course on like hospitality. It was like customer service.
Mr. and Mrs. Mossbacher, hello. I'm Armand, the resort manager. Welcome to the White Lotus.
Is there anything more that I can do? Are you sure? I know. And then
We
you have to
should come up with a B-roll of all of these things, you know? Yeah, like, looks like we're all cut up. You know, all the different things that you could say of, all right, my patient's notes are in and no more to-dos for today.
Yeah.
Like,
and then
we could test, see which works the best.
And then if they didn't hear you, it's just like, oh shit, do I repeat the same thing, but did they not hear me? Or it's like, okay, I said the notes like, so I guess we just ran the list.
There's that internal monologue of like, do they forget I'm here? Let me try one of those like, you know, they'll think I'm just clearing my throat. I just want to remind them of my existence in this space since they've ignored me for 2 hours since I've been done, and I need to go home and study and just have a life.
and even with every week being, or every start of every rotation being different, essentially as time passed and we did get more competent, that also was still a new thing, because then they would, you know, expect your expectation and your responsibilities would also go up, which was good. But like that was just another thing to just keep, you just had to keep adjusting. And so it was like, it didn't feel like the dust really like
there's just so much in this culture, and that I think it could be like a culture shock from like, I was at a straight A pre-med student and now I'm in med school and I'm, you know, just going through studying for all my different blocks and then taking the step 1 exam and so on. And then it's like, now you're basically like the lowest level in this complex hierarchy with weird social dynamics. And like, you know, hospitals are complicated. They're kind of like airports or other, you know, just like complex industries where there's so much going on and like, you don't really know your place. And I honestly feel like a med student is kind of like, you're given a job without a clear role. So it's just like, you just live in this awkward land until you like figure it out with your team of what that can be for the rest of the rotation. But day 1 is always a little bit rough, and if you have any social anxiety, that'll go up on those days.
I love that about it's not the clearest job description. You're right, because it's like in different teams you'll have different, like they'll want you to do different things. Oh, do more of this, oh, do less of that, because that's just how we operate. And so it's just like constantly evolving to new bosses too, with the senior resident or the attending, and especially if they're not on the same page for something, you're like, who do I report to and stuff. It's
one thing that I noticed was almost a saving saving grace is oftentimes the like pre-rotation packet of everything that you were expected to do was like way more intense than it actually ended up being. It was like mid students are often following 4 patients at a time, presenting to the senior resident and taking on-call shifts and overnight, placing catheters and all this stuff. The reality is on a weekly basis, you'll do like a little of all that, but most of the time your team isn't quite as intense as they wrote the syllabus. And that's good. It's like everyone kind of agrees, all right, this is the ideal template of what you're supposed to do. And I'll just find a way to like contribute without getting in the way. And that'll normally be enough to get a, a passing or even high passing grade. Because otherwise it's just so stressful. Like even when it is defined, it feels like, how am I supposed to do this? I'm just starting this rotation.
Exactly. Well, neat to sort of look back, and especially now compared to these different career trajectories that we've considered, different job descriptions, and to now have something to compare to that time. And so it just adds a lot of color.
And I'm sure we'll have more of these reflections to share in the near future.
Yes. All right. Great talking to you, Dylan.